5 to 7, Bernard, good morning.
Good morning.
You think it might be New Zealand's a country of two economies at the moment?
Yes, we got some figures out yesterday on housing from Quotable Value showing that Auckland, Wellington and Christchurch house prices seem to be doing better than the rest of the country. And that may be because of the tax cuts that came through in October. People who are a bit richer have got a bit more money to spend, and so they're boosting house prices in their regions. And also for rents, we saw some
Backed up by rents going up. Remember, there are places like that up a lot, aren't they?
That's right. So New Zealand seems to have separated a bit into two areas. We've got the poor in the middle parts of New Zealand who are doing it tough because of the weak economy and jobs down, and also because of the GST increase. And then the richer part of New Zealand, which has done well because of the tax cuts.
Yeah, it's kind of counterintuitive, Bernard, because what's driving the economy is the dairy farmers, Southland and Waikato, but that's not reflected in the house prices in those areas.
Because the dairy farmers are repaying debt. All the money they're getting in from that high payout going straight to the banks at the moment, so that money is not flowing through into the provincial economy. And so you're seeing with the likes of even Hamilton, Tauranga, Hamilton, prices down more than 5% from a year ago.
Capital gains tax, the Greens have put this on the agenda. This is something you're in favour of. Is this workable?
Well, just about every other country in the world has one.
So I buy a house and I sell it and I pay tax on how much I earn, is that right?
On how much you earn, on the difference between what you paid for it and what you sold it. There's different ways of doing it. You can impose capital gains tax on the second homes and on rental properties, but maybe not on your existing home. And the Greens are saying, if after the election there's a coalition negotiation, we're going to put capital gains tax on the table. So this is an interesting prospect. Now, most people have just written off capital gains tax as neither Labour or National want it. But what if Labour or National need the Greens, and the Greens decide to push it? And it's certainly what we're hearing from Russell.
What about on shares? Because you don't pay tax on capital gains on shares. Would that be part of it as well?
Yes, it would be capital gains tax on all assets, including businesses. So,
and would it in other countries, is it less than the income tax? Would it be 20%? Would it be 10%? What sort of figures?
Often it's around 25%, but it depends on how you structured it and what you did with it.
And that would further take the heat out of the housing market too, I imagine.
That's the theory, and it was also tax rich in New Zealand. I mean, remember, we've just had a set of tax cuts which benefited the rich in New Zealand, and maybe not made poor in New Zealand worse off, but certainly with the GST they feel worse off. And this would be one way to capture some of the wealth that's going uphill at the moment.
A lot of money in KiwiSaver?
Yes, now up to more than $7 billion, according to Morningstar, the company that looks at fund manager performance. Obviously, KiwiSaver a big success, more than 1.6 million people in it now, and it's growing, not just from the government contribution, but savers' contributions, and of course we've had a reasonably good year or so on the stock markets globally, so that's helped. So KiwiSaver a big factor, and good news for the New Zealand economy.
Just finally, Prime John keep warning that the Australian economy may shrink, which is a worry because we're connected to our largest trading partner as well, but they've had so much devastation. Yes,
looks like the first quarter of this year may actually see a contraction in Australian GDP. They're obviously our biggest buyer of exports, more than 40% of our exports go there, and a big factor in our economy. Bit of a surprise to hear the Finance Minister talk about a contraction in the Australian economy. So another one of those headwinds for our economy. It seems like just as we get going, we get whacked on the head from something overseas, and maybe Australia is the next thing, obviously because of Cyclone Yassi and the floods in Queensland. Interesting to see the pictures of the Prime Minister Julia Gillard break down in Parliament talking about...
I see the British papers have picked that up and said it was phony, but I guess that is just Julia.
No, it was real, and good on her for expressing her emotions in Parliament. Australians are hurting at the moment. Bushfires in Perth, floods in Queensland. It's tough.
And the ashes.
And they lost the ashes.
You know, I mean, that was the beginning of it all, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. No, they're not feeling very good, and some bad consumer confidence figures out too.
Thanks so much, Bernard. Good to see you.
Cheers.
We're not doing a free rip, are we? That's tremendous. Thanks, mate.
Excellent.